Robin.
You're listening to Opie and Anthony. Opie and Anthony. On the virus. Sirius-XM.
Oh, my God. Look who's on the phone, though.
Michio Kaku. Hey, you know about the birds?
You hear this
falling
whole
from the
thing about
sky.
the birds falling out of the sky there in Arkansas?
Something about the birds, they fell out of the sky.
Fell out of the sky. That's pretty much.
You don't know?
Yeah, they the birds, they were
birds.
flying and they
fell out of the sky.
they fell down there.
No one has any clue.
Just sit back and watch.
There's a bunch of theories.
We'll get to your silliness in a minute. We got serious stuff to discuss right now.
Dr. Michio Kaku.
Michio Kaku.
Hello.
Hello, Dr. Kaku.
It's always a pleasure when we have you on our show, sir.
And
Okay.
by the way, Dr. Kaku has a book out. It's Physics of the Future, How Science Will Change Daily Life by 2100. That's, the year, 2100.
Yeah, but the problem with the book, sir, you have a flying car on the cover. That's never going to happen.
By the year 2100, I think you're going to be very wrong.
Really?
You could
Yeah.
trust other people with a fucking car in the sky?
We already have flying cars, except they're very expensive.
Yeah, they're called airplanes.
No. We have real flying cars. I did a Discovery Channel program. We filmed the flying car.
I saw that thing
Very
with the...
expensive. And
Yes.
costs will go down over the decades. And we are talking about projecting to the year 2100.
Yeah, that's pretty far.
Yeah, but you're talking about people trying to navigate into Manhattan without hitting buildings?
Yes. We're talking about supermagnets using superconductivity.
Okay, now you're
using
showing me a thing or
technology
two.
that we will harness in the coming decades. And
So we're going to take the trust out of the flying car equation.
Yeah, it's a question of economics.
Right.
Jetpacks. Jetpacks are also possible today, except they're just very expensive.
Got an old school phone.
I know.
Why do you have an old school phone, sir?
That's just his ringtone.
Oh,
I'm sure of it.
okay.
Has to be. Dr. Kaku's there with one of those black phones with a curly wire going there. Hello. Well, Dr. Kaku, let's get right into this. A lot of controversy over the past week or so with these birds falling out of the sky.
Right. We think we have the smoking gun. We think we know what's happening here.
Oh.
First of all, you have the red-winged blackbird, which flies in very tight formation, unlike other birds, which spread out.
We're going to be
Yeah.
right
Follow
here.
the leader.
Watch this.
And if the leader
on.
gets disoriented because of fireworks, thunderstorm, lightning, microbursts, or whatever, then the whole flock could commit mass suicide.
Wow.
Just like lemmings, when the lead lemming goes off a cliff, you have hundreds of thousands of lemmings that commit mass suicide. The red-winged blackbird's eyesight is rather poor. They're flying at night. They get disoriented. And the lead bird maybe makes a nosedive right into the ground or right into a house.
And they all just follow suit.
Well, they picked the
right.
wrong lead bird then.
Wow.
That's right, the mass suicide. Now, believe it or not, these events take place every other year in the United States. 16 recorded incidences over the last 30 years involving over 1,000 blackbirds at a time. So these mass die-offs happen every other year, except they don't attract media attention. This time it did because we have simultaneous die-offs of fish and pelicans now and birds in Sweden. And however, it is largely a coincidence that all these events are taking place pretty much at the same time.
Yeah.
The one problem I have, you said every other year. Why is this happening only every other year?
Approximately, on average, 16 events over the last 30 years, averaging about every other year. Of course, it's not like clockwork. We're talking about animals.
Oh, okay, I got you.
But animal die-offs do take place rather regularly, but they never make the national media.
Yeah,
This
see,
time
now
it
this
did.
did. This did, and it got all hyped up, and the press made like a frenzy out of it.
Right, a feeding frenzy with the internet.
Imagine that.
Wires
Why would they
burning
do
out.
that?
People thought it was government secret experiments.
Right.
Yeah.
Saucers or whatever.
Well, you
The
got the-
HARP project.
You got the conspiracy people saying, it's chemtrails, it's, like Ann said, the HARP project.
Yeah.
But it's just,
Yeah.
it is what it is. You got a lead bird that gets confused, and then there's a mass suicide.
See,
happening.
that's what we were
Jeez.
thinking. Dr. Kaku, I also want to ask you about chemtrails
Wait, before
versus contrails.
Before we do that, I'm sorry, because stay with the
yes,
animals for a
yes.
second. The fish dying.
Yeah.
Because
We think we know what's happening there. There are three possible culprits. One is chemical poisoning, one is pathogens or disease, and third is trauma. And you can rule out chemical poisoning because 95% of the fish that died in Arkansas were of one species, bottom-feeding drumfish. If it was a chemical poisoning, you get several species dying off.
So fucking smart.
However, it takes about a month to culture tissue to make sure that it is disease. So disease is the number one culprit, we think, in the mass die-off of 100,000 drumfish, off the coast of Arkansas.
Yeah.
What would trauma be, Doctor? You said trauma.
Well, for example, in the oceans, we have the Navy using high-powered sonar. Some people think that disorients the whales, and you have mass beaching of whales, which is, rather unusual. But these mass beachings of whales usually take place in the vicinity of sonic tests by our subs. And so the Navy, as a precaution, is now restricting some of its sonar tests so that we don't disorient animals in the ocean.
Okay. Whales.
Yeah.
It's in a way of our military.
And then they die on the beach like that.
So now we've explained the birds and the fish, and now, Ant wants to know
about this contrail versus chemtrail. Have you heard about the chemtrails that people are talking about?
You mean that launching of an object off the coast of Los Angeles just about 2 months ago?
No, but we could talk about that too.
No. Well, that was probably not an ICBM. It was probably not a rocket.
Yeah.
It was probably an airplane.
Right.
Believe it or not. And the reason for that is that if you look at the velocity of that object taking off off Los Angeles, it didn't accelerate. If it was a ballistic missile, it would be accelerating out to about 15,000 miles per hour. And it didn't accelerate at all. It was at constant velocity. And it also executed mid-course maneuvers. Ballistic missiles execute minor maneuvers, not large maneuvers.
Yeah.
So we tend to think it was an airplane. And, if you live next to an airport, you see these trails of water vapor all the time.
Yeah. See, it's not chemicals. It's, it's contrails. It's water vapor.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
I want to believe in conspiracies because the real answers are too boring.
It's always more fun.
They certainly are more fun. Dr. Michio Kaku, whose new book is called Physics of the Future, a book I certainly will read.
I like
I'm
that.
excited.
Coming out in March.
Coming out in March. Good.
What are some of the things we're going to look forward to in the year 2100?
Well, something that we're going to have within maybe 10 years' time.
I would say
the
nothing,
Internet
'cause
will
we'll be
be
dead.
so compact it'll be in your contact lens.
Contact lens? What if we don't wear them? You miss out.
Well, if you have the Internet in your contact lens, you'll be able to identify anyone's face. When you talk to somebody, you'll see their complete biography right next to their face. And you'll see subtitles. Subtitles if they speak in Chinese or German.
Oh, wow, that's okay.
Your contact lens will translate on the fly what the person is saying and put it right underneath that person's face as you talk to that person. If you're an artist, you'll be able to recreate any kind of sculpture with your hands just by waving your hands in space. And your contact lens will then create this image of a beautiful work of art that you're creating. Architects will love this because architects will be able to create buildings and rooms and furniture just in the contact lens by waving their hands.
Doctor, I already see all these things when I talk to people. Does that mean there's something wrong with me?
Well, there's a theory that says yes. And in addition, if you are a student taking a final examination, these contact lenses could save your life.
How's that?
Because you'll be able to see the exam answers in your contact lens as you take the final.
Well, I bet they'll say no contact lenses during the final.
Well, how do they tell?
They'll have to pop that out.
I don't want to talk about things that are going to be around in 2100 because we're not going to be around. I want to know what's going to happen in our life.
Well, he was just saying that's like 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years.
That's a 10-year thing. Okay.
The Internet's a biggie. I like, you know what I really like, Dr. Kaku, is all the information that's available now right at our fingertips with our various smartphones. Where are these going to be headed in the next few years?
Well, we sort of know the answer. The future of the computer is to pretty much disappear. It'll be everywhere and nowhere. The wallpaper, for example, will be intelligent. So when you put wallpaper up, you'll be putting up computers.
It's already more intelligent than some of the people we have working for us, Dr. Kaku.
That's right. Flexible computer screens already exist. And they're going to get cheap enough so that we'll be able to, use wallpaper, which is intelligent. So the next time you want a wall screen, you just talk to the wall, and there's your wall screen. You want to redecorate the house, you simply talk to the wall, and the house redecorates itself.
Talk to the wall.
Color,
changes color, right? So it would be just a TV screen virtually.
Wow, how cool!
And then
be?
you could change
your entire wall, basically a gigantic TV screen.
Can you make it into a jungle theme?
You could.
What?
Can you make your wall into a jungle theme by just talking to it?
Well, yeah, anything you want. Even glass will be intelligent. We have intelligent glass already in the laboratory. So as you look out the window, if you don't like what you see, you can simply change what you see.
Could we do that to a engineering studio room off of our main studio? If we don't like what we see, we can just tint it so we don't have to look at it.
Can I do that to the faces of the women I sleep with?
Yeah, well, now you can change it to be anything you want. You simply talk to the glass, and intelligent glass already exists. We have PC screens that are totally transparent. Mm-hmm. And as you talk to the window, you can pretty much change it into anything you want. So the point here is that computer power is going to be so cheap and so plentiful that everything around us will be intelligent, maybe except us.
I think it's pretty obvious that within a few years, entire walls are going to be TVs.
It could be, right, because the cost of computers drops by half every 18 months.
Right.
So if you just simply extend this out to 10 years, computers will be 1,000, 10,000 times cheaper than they are now.
Yeah, but the TVs are getting bigger and more affordable, and I think you're going to see ridiculous TVs in everyone's places.
Well, Max,
yeah, in fact, even your clothing is going to be intelligent.
No, it
if
won't.
you have a heart attack today, you can just die on a lonely country road. In the future, your clothes will upload your entire biography, medical history, call an ambulance, and locate your position by GPS, all if you are unconscious.
Just don't wash it.
You'll never die alone in the future.
Oh, it's like OnStar in your shirt. That's pretty cool.
Hey,
right, you'll have a doctor in your clothing in the future.
I don't like that.
Hey, we want to ask about another thing that happened very recently. The weather machine, I think it was in the desert of Abu Dhabi.
Yeah?
Was that real, or was that some fake newspaper or whatever?
Well, there's no such thing as weather modification. That is maybe 100 years into the future.
But they said they made it rain 50-something times in the desert.
Well, I've been to Abu Dhabi several times, and I tell you, the desert is pretty dry there. And if they could make it rain, they would make a lot of money. But I tend to doubt that story.
He tends to doubt that then. Okay.
Yeah, we don't have any real proof. You would think
that.
they would have had video of it if they're making it rain in the desert, right?
Doctor,
the CIA tried very hard during the Vietnam War to modify the weather during the monsoon season in Vietnam. They failed. If the CIA can't do it...
Wait, did you know this, Ant, during the Vietnam War? They were trying to... How did they...
I was involved in it, Opie.
By iodide ice crystals, by seeding the clouds, they hoped to induce the monsoons over the Viet Cong so that the Viet Cong guerrillas would be washed out.
Just got them mad.
So they tried to use that as a military weapon, basically, and they failed.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Apparently, Lex Luthor was running the Vietnam War.
Mr. Luthor.
Very good.
Did you see, Dr. Kaku, did you see this coming with computers really pretty much getting rid of the typical tower-based computer in your house? Did you see this coming where it would be really at your fingertips in these smartphones?
Yeah, pretty much. I wrote a book called Visions in the late 1990s where I predicted what's going to happen by the year 2010, 2020, 2030. And we're right on schedule. If you read my book, the predictions I made are right on schedule.
Really?
With computer power. We have Moore's Law. We can predict with very good accuracy how powerful and how cheap computers are going to be because prices drop every 18 months.
You know what? But there is the human factor in there that's very hard to factor into something like that. I understand working with numbers and knowing that the computer prices will drop and the technology gets better over a fixed rate that you guys can pretty much predict. But there's the human factor of what we wanted. Now, what I wanted back in the 90s was a big computer, a big monitor, all that stuff, not knowing that in a few years, I would want a very small handheld computing device like my iPhone, and my television, being a flat screen on the wall, is now turning more into a hybrid of my computer and my television with the likes of things like Apple TV and Netflix and all the other ways to deliver the media to my house. See, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, in fact,
But I'm
John
not a
von
scientist.
Neumann, the mathematical genius who helped to create the electronic computer, he made 3 predictions in the 1950s about the future of his invention. All 3 predictions were wrong.
Oh, really?
He said that only governments would be able to afford computers.
Mm-hmm.
Second, that computers would be so fantastic we can compute the weather. And third, computers will only be controlled by the elites and by small groups of people. Now we know that computers, instead of becoming bigger, became smaller, more powerful, and that weather prediction is still impossible with a computer.
Yeah, it's gotten a
wrong
little
on
more
this.
accurate, but they still don't know. I love that. They get on and still just don't know. They have to guess and say, we think if the weather takes this track, that we'll get this amount of snow. You would think by now it would be an exact science.
Yeah, but we have something called chaos theory.
I know that
chaos theory.
hey, we all saw Jurassic Park.
Right.
The drip of
chaos
water.
Theory basically says that when you have very large numbers of molecules and large numbers of particles, it's extremely difficult to predict. In fact, a modern computer it's impossible to exactly predict the weather. You can only predict general features, qualitative features, not quantitative features.
Right.
So chaos theory means that the stock market, the weather, the coast of a seashore, these are things which are rather unpredictable, even with our best computers.
I just
So
read
weather modification is going to be beyond our control for quite a while.
I just read a bunch of stuff online about butterfly effect and
Yes,
chaos
yes.
theory. I just wanted to say those. I
yeah.
did because so I feel like I know something.
What did you think about it, Joe DeRosa?
I thought the movie was a poor representation of the theory and the effect.
We have a movie critic here.
Yeah, no, I think that stuff's really interesting. The theory of everything. I was reading about the theory of everything.
Yeah, that's what I do for a living.
Yeah,
I'd say that's his
it's
job.
incredibly complex. But actually, Doctor, is there a book you can recommend? I mean, I would like to read some of your stuff, but it's even reading it on Wikipedia is confusing. I mean, is there a book that kind of?
Yeah, well, get a copy of my book, Hyperspace.
Okay.
It was a national bestseller when it came out. It's the first major book on string theory and the theory of everything.
Oh, my God. I can't read about
String theory is fascinating, but I find you have to read the same paragraph like
a million
3
times.
or 4 times before you know what the hell.
I could barely read about string cheese and understand it.
It's one of those books where you feel your brain exploding in front of your eyes.
Yes, Dr. Kaku.
Sorry, Dr.
I
Kaku,
do
you're-
understand that. It's very. It is a concept. Unless you or one of your colleagues, it's very hard for the layman, even when it is put in what you people think of as layman's terms. Very hard to wrap your mind around it, even if you understand the words. You know what I mean?
If you understand music, you can understand string theory.
Here it is.
String theory
Oh, boy.
based
Here's
on
the
music.
analogy for the dummy.
Yeah.
How Dr. Kaku, how is music like a string theory?
Because everything you see around you is basically the lowest octave of tiny little vibrating strings. Electrons, protons, neutrons, they're nothing but the lowest octave. The next higher octave is dark matter, which we find in outer space, which is invisible. But we representing by electrons, neutrons, protons, are nothing but little tiny vibrating strings vibrating in the lowest octave.
Vibrating.
So
See, I
chemistry is
still.
nothing but the melodies you can play on these strings.
What?
The universe is a symphony of strings.
The universe is a symphony of strings.
And the mind of God that Albert Einstein eloquently wrote about would be cosmic music resonating through 11-dimensional hyperspace.
All right,
That's the mind
finally,
of God.
it's spelt out in a way I could.
Now I can
grasp.
understand.
I can wrap my mind around that.
I seriously learned about this stuff from listening to Frank Zappa. Frank Zappa used to talk about this a lot. Like, he used to talk about like the great vibration, everything was a musical note, and music was the thing that defined everything.
got
You should have been talking about his prostate.
I know, getting that checked out. Might still be around.
Why do you ignore that?
Ah,
There's a lot to talk about there.
prostate was
Wow.
made out of music.
Oh, I had something I wanted to talk to Dr. Kaku. I wanted to ask him another question.
aluminum?
but It's so no,
And
no.
other things that the
None of
government
that
is
stuff.
doing? No?
Just cool, like physics stuff,
Futuristic stuff?
space, and but my mind's so full of things.
Right.
That just oozes out my
Well,
ears.
have we covered it all? Is there something else happening in the world that we should cover, Michio Kaku?
In the coming months, we're going to discover not just one, but perhaps dozens of Earth-like twins in outer space. Planets perhaps with oceans, liquid oceans.
Oh.
And this is the Kepler satellite currently orbiting the Earth right now, which is going to lock on to to small Earth-like planets in outer space. And that's going to give us an existential shock. At night, when you look at the night sky, you'll realize that in many of the familiar constellations, there are planets that look very much like the Earth. And we'll wonder whether or not anyone's looking back at us, wondering whether or not Earth has any life on it.
Yeah, isn't it a bitch we can't just kind of, span that gap and really kind of check out other beings? It's frustrating.
Yeah.
Frustrating.
And again, this is going to be in the next few months. The Kepler satellite's been orbiting around for over a year and getting evidence of hundreds of large planets. But now we hope to get zero in on small planets, Earth-like planets. And then the question is there any life on these planets?
Yeah.
We're going to then zero in on radio emissions and see whether or not any of these planets emit radio.
It's kind of embarrassing. When we were growing up, we were told there were how many planets? I even forgot the number.
9.
There are 500 planets now we've discovered in outer space.
500, which means it's 5 million.
We were told there were 9 in our own solar system.
Yeah, but they pretty much said 9.
Yeah.
We weren't talking about other solar systems. They're like, no, there's pretty much one solar system and it has 9 planets. That's sort of what we learned growing up.
Yeah.
But now we've identified over 500 solar systems in outer space.
Yeah.
It is ridiculously arrogant to be like, I'm going to recreate the entire solar system with these styrofoam balls. This is all of it.
That's what we did.
That's all it is.
All you need to know about will never go further than this.
There you go, teach.
Dr. Kaku, I want to ask you an Einstein question.
Okay.
I was watching a program the other day, and of course, I love Einstein and his famous theory of relativity and traveling at the speed of light and how it is not attainable because mass increases as we approach the speed of light, and it would become impossible to power something past a certain speed.
Right.
All I could think of is, what's this crazy-haired guy telling everybody this, and all of a sudden it's law? Like, how does he know? And how did he know? And why is it so? Why is it the law now that everybody accepts?
Well, first of all, we measured every single day. Your GPS system, for example, would go bonkers if Einstein was wrong. Pentagon generals have to be briefed on Einstein's theory of relativity, or else they cannot fight a war. We're talking about atomic bombs, GPS, your iPod, this phone conversation. All of it is a direct consequence of Einstein's theory of relativity.
Thank God for that guy.
A modern society would collapse if it wasn't for the contributions of Einstein. So relativity is tested every single microsecond. We test relativity.
No, I understand relativity is easy to kind of grasp, things being relative to other things. I understand that. It's this concept.
What?
Well, it is. Things being relative.
I understand relativity, things being relative to other things.
No, because I take into consideration relativity on a daily basis. I do think about things relative to my car, being inside the car and outside the car. Right. There's a relationship to the speed of the vehicle, the speed of things outside my vehicle, and the relativity. Like if somebody's behind me and they're doing the same speed I'm doing, relative to me, we might as well be parked.
Mm-hmm. Right. And also time is relative. So time beats at different rates throughout the universe.
Not if you do a radio
show. On the moon.
Some days are longer than others. But
yes, faster on the moon than it does on the Earth.
Yeah, I wish the show was on the moon.
Last month, and they have a big moon in the background of the TV set. And I told Conan that time beats faster on that moon than on the Earth. And time beats slower on Jupiter than it does on Earth. So time is also relative.
And this is is this because of mass?
Because of gravity. Large gravity speeds up.
That's what I meant by mass.
Weak gravity slows down time. And again, we measure this with our satellites. GPS would go bonkers if it wasn't for
Now,
this.
why, though, as an object approaches the speed of light, does it gain more mass? This seems to me something I cannot grasp.
Well, first of all, the energy is being turned into mass. That's why it gets heavier.
Oh.
And the exact equation of the energy turning into mass is E equals mc squared.
Yes.
That is precisely how much mass is accumulating as you go faster and faster and faster. So the very fact that we have hydrogen bombs is a consequence of E equals mc squared, is a consequence of the fact that your speed of energy turns into mass. You get heavier.
E equals mass times the speed of light squared.
Yeah.
Right.
And that, so the energy itself is converted to mass.
That's right. That's
so
right.
then the more energy you need to move this mass is creating more mass.
You got it.
Holy Jesus, Dr. Kaku.
That's right.
Yeah, you have just...
I think Anthony missed his calling.
This is a moment for me
that most people have had it in the 50s.
All right, Danny, stomp on my parade or rain on it.
Stomp on my parade.
Blow on my parade. Oh, Dr. Kaku, no, believe me.
What happened?
It is, thank you. I finally got a grasp on it.
All right. Why don't we let the good doctor
Yes,
go?
After that, where else are we going? Dr. Kaku, thank you so much.
Okay.
Physics of the Future, how science will change daily life by the year 2110.
Out in March.
And I also
Or
believe you do a
2100.
show for XM, don't you, sir?
Well, I do a show for the Science Channel.
Yes.
Sci-Fi Science. I'm the host.
I love that show.
No, we know that, but I thought you were heard on XM from time to time, a little radio.
On this show.
Sometimes. I'm on talk radio. I'm on 130 radio stations around the country. Commercial radio
bragging.
stations.
Yeah.
On talk radio.
I got 130 shows. Hey, that's very good, and I love your show on Science Channel. It's
a lot of
amazing.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything about time travel, lightsabers, ray guns,
Yeah.
reporters.
Ronald Reagan's. Yes.
It's a great show. It's a great show because he just makes up stuff. I love
It's
that.
great. No accountability. He just has
really.
theories. It's
Right.
great.
It must be nice to be the smartest man in the room. You
It
can just say
really
whatever
is.
you want.
That's one. Oh my God! All right, pal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Yes.
so much, Dr. Kaku.
Yes.
There he goes.
All right.
And wow, talk about theory of relativity. What the fuck is going on there? Where did that picture
Holy
come from?
Your sister just posted an old picture of you
My
about
sister
30 seconds ago.
should be shot for that.
Adam Ferrara?
yeah, it is. They were pals
me
growing
and
up.
Adam Ferrara.
No shit. Adam Ferrara looks the same. Anthony looks like the big ragu.
That is
They're chilling. though.
fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah, that's me and Adam before we did anything.
Holy shit.
But Anthony, we could talk about the picture, but right after the Dr. Michio Kaku, kind of a new bit we want to start doing.
Yes.
Is the Dr. Steve rebuttal.
Oh shit!
Dr. Steve
rebuttal.
hates Dr.
Well,
Michio
let me tell you
Kaku.
something. I had an epiphany right there with Michio Kaku.
Yeah, and Dr. Steve knows a little bit about physics, right, Dr. Steve?
Intelligent wallpaper. I can't wait till the future gets here.
What's the problem?
You're not
Dr.
a fan of the
Steve?
intelligent wallpaper theory?
I don't know. That seems somewhat of a mundane application of what could be cool.
I could just see some housewife cleaning off some kid that crayoned over the intelligent wallpaper, spraying fantastic on it and ruining the screen.
So basically the entire future is just designed to make some fat-ass housewife not have to work anymore?
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
That's it.
And it would be nice for a maybe young future Anthony to see virtual spaghetti and meatballs and sauce running down the wall after Dad
Yes.
virtually throws it at the wall in an argument. Instead of the actual spaghetti and meatballs, it could be just an image on
That's
the intelligent wallpaper.
if that's the worst.
The Connect. You just
Yes,
you
it's-
make the motion.
It's Connect wallpaper where Dad throws the spaghetti,
Right.
but he still has to literally hit Mom.
Yeah. Do you think she'll have a virtual black eye that you can just wipe away?
She'll look normal until she looks into the wallpaper, and then Dad will be like, "See, if you want to look like that for real." Oh my God! So you didn't dig the
the intelligent wallpaper. What else?
What about flying cars based on?
This is your rebuttal.
Yeah, well, here's the thing with the flying cars. We have to, if we're going to truly do this, we need a room temperature semiconductor. Now, they're coming very close to having one, but you still have to immerse the ones that we have now in liquid nitrogen.
Very
Before
cold.
that, you had almost to be at absolute zero, so they're getting closer. Whether just
Speaking of
having
absolute
a big-
zero, did you hear the Iraq segment? Look at he's shaking his head.
He thought he was off the hook.
Oh, Iraq.
But you gotta take the human element out of the flying car equation.
Of course.
But then it becomes public transportation that flies. It's called an airplane.
Yeah, I mean, to have true freedom in a flying car would be insane.
People
if you think about
fuck
it.
up in 2 dimensions
Right.
Too much every day.
Right.
Never mind adding altitude.
But
Sure.
don't you also have to,
We have
doctor?
more room in 3 dimensions, though. So there's, it may actually be less likely that you'll run into somebody. It's much more likely when you're
really?
behind one little road.
Just imagine
Yeah.
the commute into New York. The thousands and thousands of fucking cars in the sky. There's not going to be any problems.
Will there be lanes? Because then there's just traffic again.
Yes.
Then it's
If
just
they do
traffic
have
in the
lanes-
sky.
Why would you have lanes?
If they have lanes in the sky, it would look like Coruscant from Star Wars.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I want it to look like.
You geek. I love it.
Doctor,
I love it.
Doctor, to Opie's point though, don't you have to consider like what Opie's saying about like people wouldn't be able to handle flying cars when you predict or theorize on what's going to happen in the future? Don't you have to also incorporate the concept that our understanding and capability with these progressions will be higher? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, we'll have a greater understanding of something like a flying car in 100 years and how to use it versus if it just popped up now. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does make sense. I think ultimately it'll be computer controlled. And the problem with that is what happens when the computer crashes. Then you've got 1 million people in the sky, and they're all falling to their doom.
God,
But that
I
could
don't
happen
agree.
now with the airlines. Aren't they computer operated, Doc?
Well,
Yo.
No, not really. I mean, there's not a single computer system that's making all these.
Guy works his whole life.
Joe just goes, guy works his whole life. He's got to take this shit. I know. Guy actually went to school, got an education, becomes a doctor, and he's just shit on by Opie.
I've been in JetBlue planes. They're already very computer savvy.
But at least the
got nothing but
pilot,
flat screens in front of him now.
the professional pilot element is still there. He still has basic gauges if all that shit fails.
Oh, really?
Like on the ground.
Where's the yoke? When you have nothing but flat screens in front of you and they break down.
No, he's got a yoke in front of him.
I've never seen a yoke.
Yeah, sometimes they got the joystick on the side too.
Yeah.
They don't even have the yoke. They got a little joystick on some of those planes. But you still have the human element that if the plane is still running and all the ground shit is out, he could still land the plane. Now, a flying car, if we were just dependent on computers because the people are too stupid to even drive regular cars, never mind flying ones, so that they're completely computer run and you just kind of sit in it, then we're asking for trouble.
Not really, because the computers will be better at that point.
I think so, but then we'll be asking for
With
trouble more
backup
if the computer
computers.
fucks up.
True.
But that's what I was saying earlier. You got to take into account we're going to have 100 more years of understanding to us. Do you know what I mean? It would be like throwing a guy into a flying car today.
Or a guy
How much fun would that be, though?
It would be
Or
awesome.
how about,
I would love to see that.
But how about throwing a guy from like the 1500s into a Ferrari today? Like that would kind of be, he'd crash the thing in a second.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So
saying.
you're thinking like if we, in the future, we'll probably be able to deal with that shit. Our brains will be
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
equipped.
Like if you showed Ben Franklin
Yeah.
an iPod. Excuse
Right.
me, doctor. Let me theorize here for a second.
Ben
if
Franklin.
if you showed Benjamin Franklin an iPod,
He'd say, big shit. Do you know I couldn't look at these if I didn't invent these glasses, motherfucker?
Yeah.
That's what he'd say.
he'd probably have a stroke. He'd be like, you know what I mean? He doesn't. He didn't sit through the stair step of technology to get to the iPod. You know what I
Where is
mean?
the pornography, sir? That's what he'd be. He was quite the ladies' man, that Ben Franklin.
Yeah.
That's why he was bald like
he
that.
loved the pussy.
Oh, he
Yeah.
loved it.
Especially if it was French.
He used to go to France all the time. You know what it was like to go to France? You got to get on a ship
I
and
know.
fucking maybe make it there just for that French pussy.
Yeah.
That guy loved
He
it.
sacrificed getting scurvy to
The
get some
scurvy.
fucking twat.
He had syphilis, didn't he?
Oh, they
didn't
all
he die
did.
from
Back-
syphilis?
Everyone
Disgusting.
did.
Who didn't
Ugh.
have syphilis back in those days, Dr. Steve?
That was like the common cold.
Was that very common, Dr. Steve? I don't know if you know that, but was it back then in the day, as they call it?
Yeah, there were quite a few famous people that had syphilis back in the day, and we just didn't have a treatment for it. So if you fucked around, and it was easy to spread. And
Oh, my God.
let's see, Scott Joplin had syphilis. Gauguin, the painter, had syphilis.
Gauguin.
So, those are the
Al Capone.
Well, Al Capone,
Right.
yeah. Al Capone died of it.
Idi Amin had syphilis.
Idi Amin?
Didn't he?
Yeah, I would just say yes.
Yeah.
Didn't Mother Teresa have it?
Mother Teresa had the clap. She had chlamydia.
She had chlamydia.
I would assume she had the Hep A.
She had Hep A.
The Hep A. Dr. Steve, what do you know? You kill old people for a living. Why are
Oh,
we
no,
even
he
listening
doesn't.
to
He
Jesus.
helps them.
Good
He
God.
helps them and gives them comfort in their last
does
days.
He makes their last week feel terrific.
As they take that ride over the horizon to the unknown. The boat ride. He puts the fucking silver dollars on their eyes.
We know what the ride over
and gives them the change for the ferryman.
we know what the ride over the horizon is.
Fucking Dr. Steve knows the ferryman by his first name. Just talking. Yeah, I got another one for you.
The thing from Clash of the Titans.
Yeah.
You think a quarter to?
And the ride over the horizon is a nice steep cliff, right,
You think
Dr.
it is?
Steve? Yes.
Dr. Steve's never seen a spirit come out of anyone. Have you ever felt a weird feeling when someone passes, that an electric feeling, anything?
No, but it is interesting the line between being alive and being dead, because someone is right close to death, but they still are animated, and when they pass away, it's just not, that person isn't there anymore. It's really it's hard to put into words, but it is.
Well, why don't you try?
I think of it as unplugging the microwave when it's spinning around. Like it's alive, it's moving, it's cooking something, and then it's just not. That's what I think it is too.
Who's that
blackness and nothingness?
Who's that politician in the 80s that killed himself during the press conference?
Oh, Arbud Dwyer.
Bart Dwyer. Did you ever watch that footage? It's disturbing to watch how instantaneous the life is gone.
Yeah,
it's really creepy.
Yeah.
Gone.
What do you think happens when you die, Doctor? Do you believe anything afterwards or nothing, right?
Well, I mean, there's the part of me that grew up a Methodist, and so I have that in my worldview.
It's a Methodist to his madness.
Christian theology stuff, but then the scientific part of me is there. Does struggle with that.
And is it?
But now, there is a certain form of immortality, though. In an infinite universe, we would have counterparts elsewhere in the universe that are exactly like us, because in an infinite universe, if you take a small volume of space, that there's finite number of particles. Did you guys hang up on me again?
No. It's actually interesting what you're saying.
That's hilarious.
That is so funny. It's like, did you hang up on me again?
Yeah.
Sorry.
He's so paranoid.
Why are you so paranoid?
That is so funny.
Well, continue because it's very interesting.
I was digging that because it's like if something's infinite, what you're saying is if it's infinite, there is definitely, it's not even questionable, it's definite that there will be exact duplicates of things.
Yes,
based on infinite, right?
Stage one.
Oh, he's still talking.
That was a team effort, by the way.
Still talking.
He and I looked at each other like, this has to happen.
We huddled on that one.
We certainly did.
That poor fuck. Hey, I love Dr. Steve, by the way. Dr. Steve is the shit. Weird Medicine is his show. It's here on The Virus.
Yeah.
I don't know when the next episode is, but I'm
Hopefully
sure
never.
Next week, Dr. Steve's Weird Medicine. He's really, really good on it. He's a great friend, a great pal, and a shitty winemaker. Dr. Steve.
And eats like shit as he tells you should eat healthy. And he played Joseph this past holiday season.
Did he?
A question for next time.
Oh, and that was for sleeves?
And his wife might have played Mary.
Sleeves?
No, just
wasn't he
church
involved
shit.
in a sleeves project?
Maybe. Sleeves rules.
Shut up.
You hear the River Rat Doc song yet?
Just stop with sleeves.
You hear the River Rat Doc song yet?
No.
What's that?
What is it? What's the River Rat Doc? What?
That's River Rat Doc on Twitter.
No. Oh, no.
What happened?
I just got,
we get the text messages
got a text.
where he writes us all goes, oh, that was really funny, but he's really hurting inside as he writes that.
You fucks.
Yeah.
The good doctor just said, you fucks.
The Virus. Sirius-XM. This is the Opie and Anthony Show.